See them come, turn, turn, turn. See the candles as they burn. Turn and play on the floor. And if they win, it's time for more. Survivor, so. Hanukkah, hu-ha-ho. Hanukkah, hu-ha-ho. Survivor, so. This is the game that children play. Every meal on this holiday. Survivor, survivor. Dreidels time to play. Survivor, survivor. On this holiday. Dreidels spin, turning round, half the candles are down. Now it's time for a good night to play again through the candlelight. Survivor, so. Hanukkah, hu-ha-ho. Hanukkah, hu-ha-ho. Survivor, so. Survivor. This is the game that children play. Survivor on this holiday.
Survivor, survivor.
Dreidels time to play.
Survivor, survivor.
On this holiday. Survivor, so. Hanukkah, hu-ha-ho. Survivor, hu-ha-ho. Survivor, so. Survivor on this holiday.
of Silver Spring. I'm Esther McBride. I'm your worship associate this morning, and my pronouns are she and her. I'd especially like to welcome our visitors here this morning. Ryan Smith our welcoming captain. He's sick. Mary Beth Lerner is our welcoming captain today. And she is here in the congregation to answer your questions, and she'll also be online for our visitors and members at home. I'd also like you to remember to wear a mask at all times when you're inside church buildings. This is a part of our welcome to each other, and that's changed a little lately, right? We can be unmasked at coffee hour. Okay. About halfway through the service, children will be invited to leave the sanctuary to go and decorate and play with dreidels in the children's chapel with Reverend Caitlin, if they wish. Babies and children of all ages are always welcome in the sanctuary during the service. But we also have a nursery for children aged 6 months to 5 years old. Each Sunday, we do broadcast the service live on Zoom for those who aren't able to join us in person, and we take time to greet each other. Let's begin by greeting those on Zoom, and that will come up soon. Oh, there we go. Hi, you turn to our right. If you're joining us today by Zoom, now it's your turn. Please turn your camera on and wave so those in the sanctuary can see you. The third way we greet our neighbors is for those on Zoom to greet each other in the chat. And those here in the sanctuary are invited to get up and say hello to each other. When the music starts, that will be our cue to go back to our seats and sing the opening hymn. So you're invited to rise now.
Yep. You want me to sing into the microphone?
Just the two of us there.
Yeah.
It's just, nobody knows really how to go.
Right.
Sometimes the rhythm of it is really hopefully.
I mean, it's a folk song.
It's a folk song, yeah.
Now a good time?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so.
I know.
He's doing okay.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Let's ride!
Number 221.
Light one candle for the pain they endured, when their right to exist was denied.
Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice, justice and freedom denied. And light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time was at hand. Don't let the lights go out. It lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, for it's time to our love and our tears. One candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering, the pain we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together, peace make a song in our heart. Don't let the lights go out, that lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. One time memory
For the strength that we wanted, we keep it alive.
That's this one.
I do. What's the commitment
to those who have died?
when we
Cry out, they've not died in vain. Have we come closer, always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden, and this is the promise. This is why we will not fail. Don't let
morning. This invocation by George Kimmich Beach. In the mystery of life about us, there is light. It gives us a place to be, to grow, to rejoice together. It opens the pathways to love. In this place of friendship, there is freedom. Let the lights we kindle go before us, strong in hope, wide in goodwill, inviting the day to come. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Reverend Kristen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the settled minister of this congregation. Wow, okay. Yes, we have titles. It's now time to light our flaming chalice, symbol of our free faith, and reaffirm our congregational commitment. While the congregation rises in body or spirit, I'd like to invite Jeremy, Ashley, Charlie, and Nora Holt forward to light our chalice, and hopefully one of them can lead us in saying the words.
All right, please join us in saying the words on the screen. May this light warm our hearts with love and caring, and guide us in the ways of truth. As we gather here for worship, we pledge ourselves to the endless search for truth, to the right of each to believe as mind, heart, and conscience dictate, to accept the responsibilities this freedom commands, and to implement our belief in the essential worth and dignity of every human being.
Thank you so much. While the congregation is seated, I'd like to invite Amy, Lyndon, Eliza May, and Erica forward to light our Advent candles. And while they make their way up here, I will introduce this. In each of the 4 weeks approaching Christmas, we've lit a candle in the Advent wreath. As Unitarian Universalists, we reclaim and reinterpret old traditions that are part of our heritage, as well as exploring new ideas. So far, we've lit candles for peace, hope, and joy. Today, we add a candle for love. So we'll just light the 4 red candles around the outside. They will say the words in regular font, and I invite everyone else to chime in with the words in bold that will appear on the screen in just a moment. Thank you so much.
Whether we are finding renewal among people who are special to us, or doing the work of justice, or repairing our relationships, our sacred sense of connection runs through it all.
And I invite the congregation to respond with the phrase, "Love is holy. Love is holy."
May our commitment to love bring us closer together across our divisions, and may love move us to healing ourselves and the world.
And now I invite the congregation to repeat after me. We light the candles.
We light the candles
For peace and hope.
for peace and hope,
For joy and love.
for joy and love.
Thank you so much. And finally, before we sing our song, we have a third winter holiday symbol up here on the chancel this morning. Reverend Caitlin and I thought it would be nice to add to our collection. This is a Yule log, which I bake one of these every year for Christmas dinner, but this is the symbol of the Yule celebration, which many pagans celebrate. And so this morning, as we light this candle, we wish everyone a blessed winter solstice in a few days and a happy Yule. All right. Thank you, Reverend Caitlin. And now we're going to sing.
So tonight is the start of the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. I'll be celebrating that with my Jewish spouse and kids and mother-in-law tonight. Who else is going to be lighting candles and maybe eating delicious fried foods? Yeah? Anyone looking forward to some gelt? Yeah? Nice. I love being somewhere with so many Jewish and multi-faith families like my own. So today I wanted to share with you the story of Hanukkah. So this version I have for you is adapted from words by Rabbi Sarah Y. Samadin. Long, long ago, before our grandparents' grandparents were alive, the land of Israel was ruled by a wicked king named, does anyone remember this name? Ahasuerus, right. And it's quite the word. Oh, sweet babies. I love having babies in our sanctuary. You remember my baby was here last week. Now, this wicked king counted many Jewish folk amongst his subjects. And just like our Jewish beloveds today, these Jewish ancestors lived their lives according to Jewish customs and traditions. Well, not exactly like, right? These were ancient people. They had some differences. But they celebrated Shabbat and marked the festivals of Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuot. Unlike our Jewish beloveds of the here and now, right? These Jewish ancestors worshiped at the ancient Temple of Jerusalem, right? Which sounds like it was very fancy, and I know it was very important. It was the holiest of holy places, the center of Jewish life at the time. But this king did not want to rule over a nation of like many different religions and many cultures. He was like, that's too complicated. I want one culture, one religion, and it's going to be mine, right? So he wanted all the people of his land to live and worship the way he did. And he was a Greek guy, so he was like, I want all Greek customs, Greek gods, Greek traditions, right? And this meant he did not want the Jewish folk to be dressing differently or worshiping differently than he did. So Judaism was completely abolished under his rule. It was illegal. It was illegal under like pain of death. Like you do a Jewish thing and he murders you, which is pretty extreme and not very cool, right? I disapprove. So many Jews were afraid for their lives and they felt forced to follow the king's orders. But one group of brave kind of extremist souls decided that they would not submit. They would not submit to the king. They would not worship foreign gods or give up their Jewish way of life. This group was called the Maccabees, and they were determined to take back their temple and defend their religious freedom. The Maccabees were led at first by a man named Matthias, and then later by his son Judah. Now this, compared to the king, like the king had a lot of people, right? And the Maccabees were like only a few people, and everyone was like, there's no way this is gonna, nothing's gonna happen here, right? But the Maccabees, this tiny group of like really fierce people who were really into religious freedom, they won, right? They won the fight. They got their temple back. Yes, exactly. Everyone wave your fist in the air in triumph for the Maccabees. Yeah, religious freedom. That's right. So they got their temple back and they went in, and the king had made a total mess of the place. Like just, total mess, right? It's like a 2-year-old and an 11-month-old, and everyone has COVID, and just, it's a mess, right? I wouldn't know anything about that, no. So the Maccabees, right, kind of came in like a loving pair of grandparents, right, and started cleaning it up. Not that I know anything about. No. So they lovingly cleaned every inch of the temple. And on the 25th day of month of Kislev, the Maccabees had held a glorious rededication ceremony, kind of like we'll do once we get our building all renovated over there, right? The word Hanukkah means dedication. And it comes from the moment when the temple was triumphantly returned to the Jewish people by the Maccabees. Everyone want to raise your fist again and shake it in the air? Hey! Right. Thank you, Maccabees. The most famous story of that rededication comes from the Talmud, where we read that when the Maccabees walked into the temple, they found only enough oil to light the menorah, the lamp, for one day. But miraculously, that small amount of oil lasted for 8 days, which is exactly how long it took to get new oil, right? It's like you got your cell phone at the end of a natural disaster and it's only got 1 bar of service, and somehow it lasts through like 8 episodes of Bluey, right? Magic. Today, the celebration of Hanukkah lasts 8 days in honor of the miracles that occurred so many years ago. Jewish families all around the world light 8 candles on the Hanukkah, 1 candle the first night, 2 the second night, and so on, and eat latkes, potato pancakes, and other fruits fried in oil. They spin the dreidel like we're going to be doing, a bunch of us downstairs, and the letters on that mean the great miracle happened there, unless you're in Israel, in which case it says a great miracle happened here, right? And give and receive chocolate gelt and often exchange gifts too. I know my house is full of Hanukkah gifts right now. With each Hanukkah candle we light, we illumine the most important message of all, that we must ignite the fire of commitment and courage again and again. And we must always work to keep the flame of religious freedom and plurality burning for all people, for all time. Do we want to give one big Maccabee fish shake again? Yes! That's right. Happy Hanukkah, y'all. And now is the time for joys and sorrows. So I invite forward anyone who has something precious to share. Please come and speak into the microphone. And now invite you into a time of quiet contemplation. Invite you to perhaps take a moment to settle your feet on the floor or your hands in your lap, and close your eyes or focus your eyes on a candle flame or some moment of beauty around you. Let us breathe in and breathe out as we join in this moment of quiet together, grateful for the sounds of life all around us. If you have suffered a deep loss in the last year, I invite you to stand or to raise your hand so that the congregation can bear witness to your grief.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call. still will remain singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears through all the years, singing.
I invite you now into a time of prayer. Breath of life, Spirit of love, thank you for this season of ancient stories, of miraculous lights rekindled, of the reassurance that all seasons come and go, of the birth of hope when hope was hard to find. Spirit of compassion, we ask your comfort and blessing on all those for whom this is not a season of joy and celebration. We hold tenderly in our hearts all who are sick, all who are mourning friends and family who have died, those estranged from loved ones, and those who have lost jobs or homes or important relationships. We pray for all who live in the midst of war and violence, for the families who have been separated and detained in inhumane conditions at our nation's southern border, and all who are hungry and thirsty for bread and for roses. When we find ourselves scared or worried if things will be okay, if we will be okay, may all of the things that have helped us hold on to hope, even when hope has been hard to find, inspire us to lift up our voices, to not be afraid, and to sing to the power of our faith within. When we are uncertain, remind us of the kind and brave and faithful people who have cared for us, who may be halfway around the world or sitting now beside us, or who abide with us only in heart and spirit and memory, making real for us the hope, love, joy, and peace beyond belief that holds us all. Blessed be. Amen. I now invite any children or anyone young at heart who would like to spend the rest of the service downstairs decorating and playing with dreidels to leave the sanctuary with Reverend Caitlin, Finn, and Zoe. And who? And Patty. Wonderful. As we sing them on their way, grown-ups, please be sure to pick up your kids after the service.
Our reading this morning is a poem called We Light These Lights, a new Hannah wrote Hallelujah Prayer for Hanukkah by Rabbi Brant Rosen. We light these lights for the instigators and the refusers, the obstinate, the unyielding, for the ones who kept marching, the ones who tended the fires, the ones who would not bow down. We light these lights for the sparks that guide us on through the gentle night, for the darkness that swaddles us in its soft embrace until the moment we inevitably emerge into life renewed. We light these lights for the spirit of resilience that remains after our strength has ebbed away, for the steadfast knowledge, even as the bullets echo repeatedly off bodies lying in the streets, that the impunity of the powerful cannot last forever. These lights we light tonight will never be used for any other purpose, but to proclaim the miracle of this truth. It is not by might nor by cruelty, but by a love that burns relentlessly, that this broken world will be redeemed.
Thank you, Esther. Unitarianism and Universalism were two very particular heretical Christian traditions. And it was our Universalism a century ago that led our ancestors in faith to seek out wisdom in the religions beyond their own. It is this pluralism, this idea that the good in all religions doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, that shaped our modern Unitarian Universalist faith into one that celebrates all people in the fullness of who they are, cultural, spiritual, religious, and beyond. Even though I have studied Hebrew and read Torah and celebrated Hanukkah and Sukkot, Purim, and Passover with lots of Jewish friends, I am not Jewish. Hanukkah is not my holiday. And yet I am so thankful to the many Jews in this congregation who, year after year, choose to celebrate their culture and traditions and this holiday along with all of us. Our congregation is the richer for all of the beautiful ways that the holy shines through our diversity. And so I'm preaching today from a place of deep respect for the many different Jewish traditions, for Judaism is just as diverse in cultural and theology and practice as any other faith. And just as there are many ways of being Jewish, there are also many ways of understanding the Hanukkah story. Earlier this morning, we heard Reverend Caitlin tell the Hanukkah story. And the Maccabees didn't take too kindly to King Antiochus threatening Jews with death who wouldn't assimilate into Greek culture and religion, so they revolted. Against all odds, they were victorious. And when they were cleaning up the temple, which the Syrian Greeks had desecrated, the single day's worth of holy oil they found lasted for the 8 days needed to cleanse the temple. History is, as always, much more complicated than the stories we grow up hearing as children. One of the things the well-known Hanukkah story leaves out is that the fighting was anything but clear-cut, with Jews on one side and Syrians on the other. The Maccabees were pretty zealous, as Reverend Caitlin said, staunch traditionalists, and they were willing to use force not only to resist the Syrians, but to make sure that all other Jews did too. By the Maccabean revolt, many Jews fell somewhere on a spectrum of Greek assimilation into Greek culture. Even before King Antiochus threatened death to any who wouldn't worship the Greek gods, Jews sometimes chose to accept other aspects of Greek life in order to protect their wealth or status, or just to try to fit in. It was hard for Jewish business owners to operate in a cultural context or economy that didn't shut down every seventh day for rest, to have to abstain from eating with Greeks they were trying to do business with. Don't assimilate, risk death at the hands of the Greeks. Assimilate, risk death at the hands of the Maccabees. Those were the choices. To make things even more complicated, some scholars have argued that the real miracle of Hanukkah wasn't the oil burning for 8 days, but that the Maccabees wound up being victorious at all. And that's because there's some historical evidence that the oil story was created by rabbis hundreds of years later, when the Jews had fallen under a new set of rulers, the Romans. As Rabbi Danya Rutenberg explains, it's not clear when the story originated, but some scholars posit that rabbis under Roman rule figured it wouldn't be clever to publicly celebrate a holiday marking the violent overthrow of a foreign government. So instead, they came up with the much more kid-friendly version about the oil, which conveniently lends itself to much more spiritualized interpretations of Hanukkah. Why was it 8 days originally? There are a few theories. One suggests that an 8-day festival of lights was widespread in Greek, Roman, and Babylonian antiquity. And another notes that that's how long the Greeks celebrated their military victories. For some people, holidays and traditions lose all meaning if it's possible they aren't literally true, or if the heroes of the story turn out to have struggled with right and wrong, good and bad, just as much as we all do. But for me, the questions and the complications add more meaning, not less, and they make me more curious. I wonder what about the oil story helped preserve wisdom that generations of Jews have risked death to pass on to their children. I wonder what wisdom the different iterations of the Hanukkah story have to offer people today. Jews in this country may not be facing kings hell-bent on their assimilation, but they do live in a time of rising anti-Semitism and amid a dominant culture that is not Jewish. Only now the hegemony is Christian instead of Greek. A couple weeks ago, I saw a Facebook post by a Jewish friend of mine. Her kids have seen all of their neighbors' holiday lights and decorations, heard about all of the Christmas parties that they're having, and they were feeling left out. She and her husband are finding ways to help the kids celebrate their own faith and culture. But it's kind of sobering to think about how similar their struggle is to navigate American Christian culture, as their ancestors was to navigate the Hellenistic world. I also know a lot of parents, some Jewish and some from other non-Christian backgrounds, who dread pretty much the entire month of December. It takes a lot of energy to get through the Christmas season if you're not Christian. It is with all of this in mind that I wonder if one of the miracles and mysteries at the heart of Hanukkah is simply that it is still being celebrated. The dynamic reality at the heart of the stories of the God of Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, that which has held the Jewish people through occupation by the Syrian Greeks, then occupation by the Romans, this dynamic reality holds them still through the ongoing conflict around Jerusalem and the challenges of living in the diaspora. What if the miracle is the survival not only of the Jewish people, but of Jewish religion, culture, and identity, when monarchs and mighty military forces have done everything they could to obliterate them? Mayim Bialik, the neuroscientist and actress who played Amy Farrah Fowler on The Big Bang Theory and who co-hosts Jeopardy, has said that all Jewish holidays are about basically the same thing. They tried to kill us, we survived, let's eat. In today's world, the message of a power mightier than kings and armies holding us together, holding us through the storm, of a community struggling yet somehow still managing to hang on to who we are in the midst of powerful forces that threaten us, that's a message that resonates throughout time. But what does it mean for us here today? What does this message mean for us in this congregation? Some of us Jewish, some of us not. My colleague, the Reverend Jason Cook, minister of the UU congregation in Fullerton, California, wrote the following reflection about the meaning of Hanukkah for him. I'd like to close my sermon today with these paragraphs of his with gratitude for him sharing them with me. The Hanukkah flame, the one that lasts beyond our expectations, is representative of the enduring force of love at humanity's center. This isn't sappy Hallmark card love or the first fire of romantic attraction that we're talking about. This love is something that endures, It is tough as nails when it needs to be, and in turn as vulnerable as a newborn when it needs to be. Love is something that rises against anti-Semitism and hate and bigotry of any kind, that points the way toward truth and reason when people are otherwise lost and distracted. Love is not enough on its own. It's a flame, yes, even a fire sometimes, but it's how we use that fire that creates change, even and perhaps especially when we are not even sure we have it in us, even when life has brought us illness, loss, confusion, depression, or any of the things that can rock our worlds and leave us in a state of despair. The opposite of the light we talk about during Hanukkah is not dark. Dark can be and often is good. In the dark, we can rest. In the dark, we can reflect and think. In the dark, senses beyond our sight are heightened. In the dark, we can feel like we are wrapped in the darkness of space itself, of which we are a part, connected to a larger universe, one of planets and stars and questions beyond our understanding. No, dark is not the opposite of the Hanukkah light. The opposite of that light is despair. Despair is what fights against the light of love. It is sometimes at the root of hate, but despair is also what hate tries to invoke in us. It is what we must most resist within ourselves. We turn away from despair and light our love lamps. If I love, I cannot live in despair. If I love, I keep the lamp lit, not just for myself, but for others. Choose not despair this holiday season. Choose the dark for rest and renewal and reflection. Choose the light of the ages for truth, wisdom, perseverance, unity, freedom, compassion. The list of what this light can bring is practically endless, as long as we are here to keep the lamp lit. Happy Hanukkah, my dears. Amen.
Everything we do here at UUCSS is possible through the generosity of those of us who call this church our own. Whether it's our operations or our programs, our ministry or our fellowship, it's all possible because this is the place of giving and receiving over and over again. There are many ways to give your gift to UUCSS, as you can see on the screen. If you're here in person and you have cash or a check, you can put your offering in one of the offering plates as it's passed around during the music that begins shortly. May our hearts grow as we practice generosity together. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude.
Lord, saving power. Thou amidst the raging foes wast our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but thine arms availed us, and thy word broke their sword when our own strength failed us, and thy word broke their sword when our own strength failed us.
And now I'd like to invite Susanna Numa forward to do our announcements.
Good morning. All right, good morning. Hi. My name is Susanna Numa, and I'm a member of the board. My pronouns are she and her. Our church is not only the organization that puts together these services, we are a vibrant community of volunteers and staff, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and part of the global UU denomination. Today we have 4 announcements. Our first announcement is about Christmas Eve, which is this Saturday. We are glad to return to 2 services with a potluck cookie party in the middle. Reverend Caitlin will lead a family service at 6, and we will enjoy cookies together at 7 p.m. And Reverend Kristen will lead a lessons and carols service at 8 p.m. Whether you come to the family service at 6 or the lessons and carols service at 8, we hope you will bring some cookies or other refreshments to share for the cookie party. And sign up to serve as an usher. We could especially use ushers for the 6 p.m. service. Also, at both Christmas Eve services, we will light candles for all children or grandchildren born or adopted this year. If you've welcomed a child or a grandchild into your family since last Christmas, please email Reverend Kristen at minister@uucss.org with their name, their relation to you, and their birth or adoption day. Our next announcement is about the capital campaign. Donovan, would you like to come up?
I'm Donna B. Smith. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the president of your Board of Trustees. All fall, the board has been preoccupied, busy, focused, whatever the word is, on the capital campaign. And today is the official conclusion. I want to thank all of the visitors who have made over 81 visits to date. Tamara Bowman, Catherine Buckler, Eric Lever, Katie Haig, Jamie Jorgensen, Robin Morlasky, Susanna Numa, Bobby Pohl, David Rodriguez, Karen Savadkin, Pat Scheid, Bev Snetzler, Jean Snell, Sharon Snyder, and Deborah Thornton. Woo! And organizing it all has been our fantastic steering committee, Tamara Bowman, David Rodriguez, Pat Scheid, Bev Snetzler, Sharon Snyder, and Emily Tien, led by our fabulous co-chairs Maggie Hayes and Stephanie McConaughey, and our consultant, Marcia Meehan. Besides asking for contributions, the visits have provided opportunities for us to reconnect with each other. I went into doing visits sort of reluctantly, sort of out of duty, not feeling very comfortable talking with people about money. It's not something I'm used to doing. But I've been surprised and delighted with some of the conversations I've had on the visits that I've made with the Capitol campaign. So to all of those of you who've opened your doors and your computers to visitors and have made pledges, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're helping us move forward. Now I know some of you are thinking, hey, I've been left out. I'm upset, I really want to participate. Listen, don't worry. Our goal is to visit absolutely everyone. But since we couldn't get to doing that yet, we will pick up again in January. So do feel free to contact me, Maggie Hayes, Stephanie McConaughey, or Bev Schnetzler to set up a visit if you haven't had a visit yet. And please watch the all-church email and the Uniter for updates on progress with finances and updates on construction as these events unfold. And now, I would like to turn it over to Reverend Kristen.
Don't go too far.
I'm not going too far.
Okay. So I would like to invite Marcia Mann forward. We would like to thank her for all of her help as our consultant in this capital campaign. She's done an incredible amount of work keeping us going. We will be having a very big thank you party in February to celebrate the end of the capital campaign. And when we do that, we will be officially giving thanks and honoring all of the volunteers of the steering committee and all of the visitors. But since today is Marcia's last day with our congregation, we wanted to thank her. So these are for you. Thank you so much, Marcia. And I wanted you to be up here when I announce the grand total for today. I am just so, and we have one other gift.
And a little token of our appreciation that's a little more durable than the flowers will be. Not just and just as pretty as a little one of our little lapel pins for her to remember us by.
So you can carry a little bit of UUCSS with you everywhere you go. So thank you, Marcia. And I am absolutely thrilled to share with all of you. How long can I keep this going? I'm so thrilled to share with you that as of today, we have just under $914,000 raised. What? I'm sorry, I was wrong. Just over $914,000. And do you remember how many pledges are collected? How many that is? Is it 81? Yeah, it's about 80 pledges. So we've still got many more to go. Our goal, and 900,000 was the threshold of our second goal. We've reached our second goal. We have reached enough to pay off our bridge loan and other associated fees, as well as our accessibility goal. I am so proud of this congregation. So now the rest of the money that we're raising into January, that's going to be going toward accelerating paying off our mortgage, which is really, really going to help this congregation in moving forward. So thank you to all of you who've made pledges. Thank you to all of you who will be meeting with your visitor in January. I can't wait to celebrate how far we come in a month, okay? And now I would like to invite Michelle Levesque forward. Michelle is here in the United States from Switzerland. And Michelle is going to share about why she has pledged her support to the Capitol campaign. Hey there. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Oh, wow. It is so fun to be here. And I can tell you that if I were even talking about the scores of the World Cup, I will get emotional. So it doesn't matter what I'm talking about. I'm probably going to end up crying up here. And I don't even know why church does that to me. Also, I realize that my printer doesn't work very well, so I'm going to be squinting at what I wrote up here. But, whoops. Okay. Well, hello. For those of you that don't know me, it might be better for me to introduce myself as Nicole's sister, as Danielle and Matthew's taunt, as Doyle Rice's sister outlaw. But don't worry, Jim. I am Michelle Levesque. I am a person unto myself, and I'm so glad to be here. I say all of that because I've been a member since 2004, but as Reverend Kristen just mentioned, I haven't been around much since 2007, since I moved to Geneva, Switzerland. 2017, what did I say? Okay, no, it hasn't been that long. Thank you. Reverend Kristen and I had a very nice Zoom chat a few weeks ago, and after making my own capital campaign pledge, she asked if I'd be willing to speak as to why I give to the capital campaign. And while it never dawned on me not to contribute, it did allow me to contemplate more deeply why I do give to a church that I rarely see in person. And the very simple answer, here's where I get upset, is that UUCSS is my home away from home. Oh, man. I've been going to UU churches since 2019, or no, I'm getting my dates all mixed up here. I've been going to UUCSS or UU churches since my sister introduced me to UUism and brought me to my very first Christmas Eve service in Chandler, Arizona in 1990. I've regularly attended about 6 different churches in the various places that I've lived, but UUCSS is only the second that I've actually ever signed the book. In Geneva, there is a small contingent of UUs who, before the pandemic, met once a month in what I think would be called the library of the Quaker Fellowship House in what we call Petit Seconnet in Geneva. We are like-minded, English-speaking North Americans, for the most part, and we light the chalice and we sing from the gray hymnal. And when we sing Spirit of Life, we do it both in English and in French. And we even have coffee hour after service, although it's actually usually wine and cheese. Because we do meet in the evenings.
That is a nice idea.
Yeah. It's why when I am on Zoom, you often see me with a glass of wine while you guys are all having your coffee. But there is something about having your own space that solidifies a community of like-minded people into a more solid church community. A space where, as Beverly Schnetzler pointed out a couple of weeks ago, celebrations of all sorts can take place. Where Why Are You and coming-of-age sleepovers and lock-ins can take place. Where coffee or happy hour can take place without disturbing those who may want to spend extra contemplative time in the sanctuary. Where parts of the auction, the most important fundraiser from the church, and as the former VP of Finance for the church, I had to point that out, and the cookie exchange between Christmas Eve services can take place. A community hall is an extension of our sanctuary and our church community. And as infrequently as it may be for me to be here in that community hall with all of you after a service or for any number of special occasions, there is a huge peace of mind for me knowing that the church and the community will be there when I get home. Thank you.
As I tell everybody who gets upset when they cry in church, if you can't cry in church, where can you cry, people? All right. Won't you please join me in the words of chalice extinguishing? Esther, would you be so kind as to put the chalice out? Thank you so much. It looks like we're having some tech issues. Oh, that's okay. It happens so rarely here. Oh, and yeah, you got it. Okay. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. And we are going to be singing another absolute banger of a hymn for our closing hymn. It is number 222 in the gray hymnal. This is probably my favorite Hanukkah hymn, actually. I'm excited. Let's rise and join in singing.
The usual support. That's good. It's always great when you do.
Who can tell the things that befell us? us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid.
Again?
Who can we tell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid. At this time of year in days of yore, Maccabees the temple did restore, and today our people as we dream will arise, unite, and be redeemed. Who can we tell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid. Who can we tell those things that we tell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid.
As we each carry the flame of peace and love from our flaming chalice into our weary world, let us wish our Jewish neighbors and friends and family a happy Hanukkah as they kindle flames of love and freedom. Our worship now has ended and our service begins.
How lucky are we that we have light so that we can see, although the day is done. What a miracle that a spark lifts these candles out of the dark. Every evening, one by one, until the end of Hanukkah, of Hanukkah. With the jingle bells and the toys, the TV shows and the noise, it's easy to forget. At the end of the day, our whole family will say these words for Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim la'avoteinu. We messed up. That's okay.
Okay.
Asher kiddishanu b'mitzvot havitzivanu hadlik ner shel Hanukkah. We light the candles of Hanukkah for Hanukkah. We remember how Maccabees fought so all of us can be free, and so we celebrate this festival of the lights. There's a joyful time every night when we illuminate the candles of Hanukkah for Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim la'avoteinu b'yamim hahem bazman hazeh.